Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Barn Table Talks. I'm your host, Benji Bonahay, here with my co-hosts Travis Corman and Andrew Fansler today. Huge shout out to Experience Ag and Land Pros again for sponsoring us and keeping this going. We have a very special guest on today, Cody Gault. Cody, how are you doing?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. We're happy to have you on here. And how we start the episodes off is with a little icebreaker question.
All right.
So that's what we're going to jump into.
Okay.
So today, the question is, what was the last time or a specific moment in time you laughed really, really hard?
Okay. Well, I probably get into this here in a little bit, but I have a pretty wild bunch at home. I have 5 kids, and so as you can imagine, the laughs are not hard to come by, but or the drama, and that's kind of where this laugh is stemming from. But got some. I have 4 girls and a son, and one of my daughters was having her daily meltdown, and tears, you can name it. So you're probably wondering where the laugh's coming from. But my youngest is also a daughter. She's 2. And so in the middle of the drama, she just chooses a lot of times to just do somersaults, just right in the middle of the floor. And it just kind of like, as much as you're frustrated, you just look down and you can't help but smile and laugh. And so she brings a lot of that to the family, and I'd say that's probably the most recent one.
That's a good one.
And it happens a lot.
So she's your clown of the bunch.
She's the clown, the gymnast, you name
Right.
it. Yep. She's
All
the
the
entertainment.
above.
So,
How old are all of them?
they are 12, 10, 7, 5, and 2. I gotta always think through it. It's like you think you would know, but you gotta
start at
run.
the bottom and go up, right?
You gotta run through the list every
Right.
time. So growing like weeds, but of course wouldn't trade it. So
And you said 4 girls and a boy.
4 boys.
So where's the boy in the mix?
He's the 4th one,
He's the 4th
the
one.
5-year-old.
Poor guy.
Yeah. He said the other day, he goes, "I just want a brother." And we're like, no, it's probably not.
Like,
in the
Dad, how do
cards
I
here.
vote this in?
Yeah. It's
Probably
the
not
first
good.
time he's ever said it, and he's just like, "I just want a brother." Got so many girls here. I'm like, yeah, true story.
Understand.
You'll learn what balance is someday, son.
How about a puppy?
Yeah, that's right.
Or
That's
four
right.
wheeler.
Four-wheeler, just something.
Yeah, for sure.
What about you, Benji?
Oh, I'll have to go back to last year, setting up for Christmas. So Jeff and Susan always keep the trees down at the barn.
Your roommates.
Yep, my roommates. And now they're basically my second parents. But they keep the trees down at the barn, so Jeff always asks me and Shan if we're there to help him bring the tree up to the house. And we're like, okay, cool. So we load it up onto the skid steer. He drives it up. It's a pretty heavy tree. I mean, it's a real nice tree. And we're on the front little porch area, and we're trying to get it off the skid steer. And for some reason, I must have let go or something. And that tree has a lot of top weight, and Shan was still holding on. And the tree just goes whoosh, and Shan's holding on, and Shan goes with it. And he just goes whoop, bam into a flower pot, and the flower pot shatters. And I'm standing there like just watching this whole thing. Jeff's dying laughing in the skid steer. I'm crying because it was so funny. And Shan's just like, "Hey guys, a little help down here." I'm like, that was probably my fault. So
like a cartoon.
yes,
right?
it was literally just slow motion, bam.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say that was probably mine.
Yours is better than mine.
You, me.
Go for it.
All right, mine has to involve this guy. I'd say one of the last times. So, and it's sad that you don't have any of these gut wrenching laughs. And maybe this is just me. I'm just too serious in my life, maybe. But
I could second that.
they're really good for you. Wish we had them more. But anyway, I was out golfing. We all went out as one of the times here that probably took the whole crew.
Team, yep, we were out
And
there.
did we play worst ball that time?
We did. We played
Okay,
a
so
couple.
we made up our own game.
Yeah.
You know how best ball works, right?
Yeah.
Well, we teamed up as a pair and we played worst ball. So no matter what happened, you had to play the worst ball out of the 2 people, right? It didn't last but a couple holes because it was bad. I got hit in the head with a ball.
You did, yeah.
But that wasn't the funny part. The funny part was this guy hitting, right? And he's touting himself off like he's this great golfer before we go, right? Like, oh, I played in college. I took a class in college.
Oh,
I
my
played
God, I
in
did not
college,
say
right?
that.
Any of this stuff, okay? So, which he's probably going to say this boiler up thing afterwards and say, which if your golf skills came from there, I can see him similar to your football skills. So,
I promise I
but
wasn't
it's
good at
probably
golf.
the same this year, right? Anyway, he's on the wrong fairway. He hits and he goes across another one, and he's over there. And I don't know what it was, but for some reason, he starts swinging in this ball. And it looked like he was swinging at it with a sledgehammer. Like he was going to get this thing to the hole in the next swing.
It was on like an incline, so
it wasn't that steep for sure.
Well, it felt steep. It felt pretty steep.
So he is swinging at this thing, and I said, "Just hit the ball, Thor."
Yeah,
like he looked like Thor trying to swing his hammer. At this
He's
thing,
across
right?
the fairway yelling. Everyone can hear us, and all I hear is "Hit the ball, Thor!" And I'm laughing after I hear that. I'm like, "How am I supposed to hit this ball?"
He swings under the ball probably 4 or 5 more times. Digs a hole. I mean, it's close to a crater at that point.
Yeah,
you could plant a tree probably. That may have been us, right?
It was.
But from that day on, he's been known as Thor in this club.
That's my contact in his phone.
There you go.
That's what it is.
I laughed so hard I had tears in my eyes, though. It was funny. It was. And Dave can second that he's the contact because I sent it over to him and he's like, "What? How is Thor anybody's name?" I said, "Well, it's not because it's good looks."
Right. Just go golfing with him.
You'll understand.
It's a mighty swing.
Oh my, that one is hard to top. And, I guess I like to laugh a lot, but probably my most recent funny one is I've got 2 daughters, not 5, but 14 and 12. And, my oldest is super serious and everything's always got to be perfect and right. And she just never wants to let her guard down anywhere. And
that's an oldest thing.
And
pretty sure.
Mm-hmm. I had grabbed we just got my youngest her phone. She's a 6th grader and has to walk back and forth from the high school to middle school. So we got her phone. Well, sisters do what sisters do. They were recording each other, and they had recorded each other upstairs when mom and dad weren't around. And my oldest was doing these crazy dance moves, like trying to dance. And I mean, she's got the rhythm of her dad. So, and they had Taylor Swift music blaring in the background. She's in there just going to town dancing, recording it all. Well, I find the video and then I play it back for all of them. And I mean, just the laughter started, the denial started. Why did you find that? Don't you dare share that with anybody.
It's coming out of graduation.
It's, for sure. That one's getting saved for a long time. So that was a big laugh in my house.
That's a wedding day humiliation right there.
Let me show you something here. So
that's fun.
Well, Cody, again, thanks for having us, or thanks for coming. Tell us a little bit about yourself. I know 5 kids.
5 kids.
You and I got to know each other through the Farm Credit system. And you've been with Farm Credit, I don't know how many years.
18 years.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about your family, your background, Farm Credit. What do you do there? And just tell us a little something.
Yeah, no, definitely. So I grew up on a farm about 10 miles south of Greensburg.
That's where the accent comes from.
Yeah. Fair. No.
It's okay. We had Brian Owens on, and he has that drawl too. Is that Waynesburg?
We're close, very close in proximity to one another. That's for sure. I'll blame him, but no, I grew up on a farm. Typical, we had hogs and a dairy, and obviously row crops, and as we like a lot of farms transitioned over time, migrated to doing only row crop. Again, that's grew up doing that there for the love and passion for agriculture, which I'll get into next. And so been very involved from the get go at a young age up until now. And then that led me to Purdue to
Boiler Up.
Yep, that's right. I was waiting for that. Thank you. Led to Purdue and a degree in agriculture. The farm wasn't going to allow for me to come back, and so that was the next option. The next great option was to go to Purdue and then get into the ag field, and then really Farm Credit right out of college. I started as a financial officer. Andrew probably didn't know that. But did that a very short time, and transitioned over to crop insurance within like 6 months. Just the opportunity presented itself. I was going to have to move to be a loan officer, and that just wasn't in the cards with the family, the farm, and those things. And so, had several roles within Farm Credit over the years, sales, operational leader, and then my current role as a sales leader, regional vice president. And so what that means is I've led our Indiana crop insurance sales team for the last 8 years or so. and then recently transitioned to leading the southern half of the state. So pretty big transition from what I'm accustomed to. And again, just I'll go back to the passion about ag. That's really where it all stems from. That's what I've always wanted to do, and this allows me to be very connected still. And Farm Credit's a great place to work. The flexibility to still help on the farm when needed is there as well. So
it's awesome.
Yeah.
One of the interesting things that I think you probably would second that I have found is, even though you're not, I guess, putting a crop in the ground, you have the availability and you get to go out and see so many different management types, so many different operations. It's pretty neat from that perspective. You're one level, I'm gonna say one level removed, but in a sense you are. You kind of get to see and hover over many different operations and see that. And if you choose, bring that back to, and maybe execute back if the family farm is still going, and if you still have a piece of that, you can still say, "Hey, I kind of saw this happening over there. This is kind of neat," and stuff. And I found that to be interesting over the years. And I imagine
you hit the nail on the head. It's you can learn so much. I'd say that's the biggest, I guess, thing that I love about being in the field is just the network, the small world, and just everybody does it different and doesn't there's a lot of successful people out there that you can learn from. So I appreciate like Andrew and I's relationship. We talk a lot about those kind of things and just those kind of relationships and that you build over the years is what it's all about.
Right. Well, and the network thing, like you said, I mean, you learn best practices and things like that, but the network can lead you down so many other roads that you would have never dreamed about. So, just getting out, meeting people, and bringing that back, it's worth a lot.
So then, how did you end up, I guess, choosing crop insurance? Like, because that's not a really glorified field, if you don't mind me bashing a little bit. Nobody wakes up as a kid and like, I'm going to
be a crop insurance.
Yeah, right.
That's a great question. It really, my initial goal was to be a loan officer, to be on the financial side. And it just, again, family, time, location thing. I was going to have to move to Martinsville, Indiana, of all places. Nothing against Martinsville. I just didn't want to be there at the time. Engaged, be married, you name it.
You would have been closer to IU. So.
well, that's part of it. I just wasn't gonna go there, but we'll get into that later. No, the opportunity presented itself, and I just really wanted to be be close to home, close to the farm, and one thing led to another. I mean, when you think of production ag and just the risk management side and the risk involved, it just aligned with my goals. And it's a we'll call it a caring type business. You're there to protect their well-being, their farm, and it just, like I said, aligned with long-term goals. So whether I was able to lend them money or protect the farm, it fit.
So from a grade school level, what is crop insurance? Like how would you explain what it exactly is? How does it work?
Yeah.
Use crowns and explain this, because
Okay,
that's what we
right.
need, right?
No. So I think that the easiest way to explain it is, and I'd love to hear your perspective as a farmer as well, but it's just a safety net. It is a way to, it's not going to make you rich. That's if that perception's out there, that's not what it's intended for, but it will make you whole. And in today's world, just with the changes and the programs, it's important. I think a part of your, it's a part of your cost of production, not one of those things where you like, oh, I may or may not take it. You're in or you're out. That's really how it goes. I think around 90% of U.S. farmers have it. They have that product. And again, it's just a way to protect not only bushels but revenue with keeping it simple. So,
and what did you say? What percent wise? 90%?
90 roughly.
Okay.
Somebody's gonna fact check me. It's probably in the upper 80s. I'm guessing.
Right.
That's where we
close
usually
enough.
Gotcha.
So 2012, we had a major drought in the Midwest, and I had read somewhere one time, and I don't remember the numbers, that the percentage of farmers that carried crop insurance post 2012 was significant. So like in 12, when the drought happened, there's so many people without crop insurance that just lost everything they put into the crop that year, that in 13, the amount of people involved
The
in the
enrollment.
program, the enrollment skyrocketed. I don't know if that's true or
Yes, it's true. I mean, it was already a lot higher than what you would think, you know, in 12, but it hurt. You know, those are the years that you know, I guess in my mind, why chance it? You know, it takes so much time in agriculture to build up your net worth and your assets, and it you know, 1 year can drastically, you know, put you back or put you under.
So how do and then you always hear, oh, the government subsidizes this, they subsidize that. How does I mean, there are subsidies in crop insurance, right?
Yes, yeah. It's highly subsidized. You know, and not to give too much of a history lesson, but you go back and it goes back to the New Deal, FDR. He chose that there's going to be a farm bill, and there's going to be two things within the farm bill at a minimum. It will be nutrition and crop insurance. Those are, you know, two things, and there's a lot of other things in there. But you know, and then the subsidy component is that we're going to secure and offer, you know, affordable food to U.S. citizens is really the basis of where it goes to. You know, it is taxpayers' dollars. There's no getting around that, but it just makes it to where, you know, our food costs can be affordable, and the product can be affordable to the you know, the end user, the farmer as well.
So basically, those subsidies help keep the cost of food down by keeping the farmer insured to the point where they're not going to make money off insurance.
Correct.
But you're just not going to lose everything off insurance.
That's right. That's exactly right. And there's a lot that goes in behind the scenes of subsidies, but you know, each level of coverage is subsidized at a different rate, and but on average, you know, you can look at it being, you know, 65% probably subsidized would be a fair assessment to say. So
then explain that just slightly, meaning 65% of the cost of that plan would be subsidized by the, you know, in a payment form back.
correct.
Is that correct?
That's right. That's right. Yep.
Gotcha.
Now, are other countries like that? I mean, do you know much about like the European crop insurance model
Or Canada or anything like that?
or-
Not a lot. It is not structured from a subsidy level the same as ours. I do know that.
A lot of private company, private involvement, from my understanding.
Correct, especially Canada. You mentioned that
Yes.
one. That's probably the one I'm most familiar with. Like, I believe it is all privately offered, if I remember correctly. And there's some ups and downs to that. Probably a little more flexibility from a product standpoint, but the downside would be, of course, the cost.
I don't think you have people trying to take advantage as much of those programs because there isn't the subsidizing that's going on.
Correct.
And stuff. So
Gotcha.
We've been approached, you know, by a few, you know, by some insurance companies that are servicing the Canadian market, and they're wanting to enter into, but the one huge hurdle they have to overcome is this subsidy stuff.
Correct.
Now that changes; those levels change with every farm bill that gets renewed, right?
Yes.
Which is every 4 years.
That's right.
Correct?
That's right.
So, I think the next one's due in December.
is.
If they don't postpone it out until
It's gonna
after the
get
election,
postponed.
right?
It will
Which
get
makes
postponed.
sense.
So yes, it's something that's up for review. You know, from a budgeting standpoint. Yep, every 4 years. Typically, you know, you mentioned it's going to be extended. It seems to take 4 to 5 usually is how it goes over. But typically it's retroactive. So if it gets approved in January or February, if it gets extended next summer, whatever they put in place, it should be in effect, you know, from 25 starting
Gotcha.
moving forward.
Gotcha.
Whatever those programs and subsidies they put in place.
Okay, I'm going to put on play the devil's advocate here just slightly, because I'm sure you've heard all this and stuff. And, you know, does having a revenue-based, like guaranteed revenue on the bottom end, do you feel like that impacts bad management, bad decision-making, bad business, and let emotion drive decisions versus business decisions?
It definitely can. I mean, we've seen it in the media. There's a big one in the media right now. You know, there's a lot of it that's on the honor system. I mean, there's really, you know, whatever the farmer says this field yielded, that's what we take. You know, it's as an agent's perspective, it is their duty to service the customer and not to you know, audit, underwrite so much. So Yes, I think there's opportunity for that. I mean, I guess I would like to think at least our customer base that we work with, they're honest people, just like we all work with, and they do the right thing. But it's when you look at cash rents and things like that, it definitely makes you think. I mean, that's really what it boils down to.
I go back to I don't remember what year it was that we got audited from the crop insurance side, just a random audit, and which I was fortunate. I have Lisa on our team, and so she had absolutely every I dotted, every T crossed, and so I mean it was super simple for us. But I could see, like, if you were somebody trying to cheat the system, or you were somebody that was maybe a little bit disorganized, an audit would really throw you in a frenzy, because they want to see not only your digital records, they want to see your scale tickets. They want to see all these things that help build that paper trail from here's what you show you harvested. We want to see how you sold all the way through. Which again, like I said, it was super easy for us. But if you're somebody trying to move this system around a little bit, an audit would throw a major wrench into it and expose it real fast.
Now, the auditing company, is that your underwritten companies like that you guys would offer? So like a Farm Credit, they offer products by certain companies, and it would be that company coming down and saying, okay, we need to probably look at this and just do some spot checks, right?
Yep, correct. So that's a good question or comment to make. There's 15 companies in the U.S. that offer that underwrite, supply the risk of the products.
Small list.
It's a very small list for you think of the amount of acres and insureds in the U.S. and then the Farm Credits of the world they choose to write their business with X amount of companies. We personally write with 5 of them. Just Farm Credit. There's 5 states, and so it gives you flexibility from a geographical standpoint. But to the audit point, they are going to conduct the audit. Anything over an indemnity over 200,000 is an automatic one, but it can be at random as well. You can automatically be chosen. They have to do so many per year, so you could get that helps. I don't want to call it the fear factor, but knowing that any red flags, it can be a chance for an audit. So.
So has technology changed? You've been doing the insurance piece now 18 years, I understand, or close.
Close, yeah.
All right. How has technology changed and helped develop and make your job easier or harder?
Yeah. No, it's definitely easier. I mean, when I started, we were going off of bend measurements, guessing, or I think this holds X amount. I mean, there was a lot more room for error, not intentional error. There was just a lot more room of, I think it's this, that mentality. You can just, I see smiles, especially those customers in their twilight years. So I'll say, throw my dad, his name's Gary. We'll throw him out there just as an example, but, I think as you look at how technology's evolved and when you get not just a yield monitor, because they've been around forever, but then you get the planner component, which obviously you're all very in tune with both of those. When you get those married together and the ease of sharing the data, it's not difficult. Like, we talked about the network that we have, for me to go straight to whatever company that's handling data to ask for it and it be supplied through an email and it cuts the farmer, not cutting them, but in my mind it's ease of doing business. It lessens that burden.
Well, you don't have so many steps in between. You can get it from point A to point B.
Correct.
Rapid.
Correct. And the systems, it's evolving. Our insurance companies, they're working at it. It's been out there for a while to where they can integrate, Ag Leader or any data. They've got some work to do on that end, but that's the next phase as far as like from a data standpoint, data management of when those can be easily shared between the two systems. It's there. It just what the challenge is that Andrew has a farm that may be 110 acres from his GPS, but at the Farm Service Agency, it's it'll be 115 probably, most likely.
Right.
It'll be bigger, just because they're older data sets, older shape files. That is the challenge that we see with those two are not getting there today, is that they don't match. And then it doesn't know what to do with it.
Or you get a section line division in the middle of the field, or a township line division in the middle of the field.
Correct.
I get to go as far as having a county line in the middle of a field. And, those types of things really throw them off. And when, one of the requests I remember I had years ago was I want every one of my fields named. I want this field named what I call it. And one of the things we came back to is, I might have 5 different crop insurance parcels, what'd you call it?
Yep.
In one field. So you might have 5 different ones that you're constantly just repeating the data.
So then can you take, as parcels merge and as stuff like that over time, you can go to the local level and have those parcels requested to merge. Is that correct?
Yeah, but so like part of the way the crop insurance world works is the section lines, township lines, county lines, things like that will divide a parcel. So you may have one field that lays kind of odd that might be in 4 different sections. Just because of the position it lays, or, it might have a township line running.
So then, Cody, on that side, as these companies, there's 15 of them. You would think that a software, by somebody that would be able to develop this and input, like you were saying, just a raw data format that would generally clean the data and bring it in and say, okay, hey, you qualify for a discounted rate if you provide us this raw data.
Now, devil's advocate over here, that's normally your job. Are all your growers, are every one of their monitors completely calibrated?
Well, see, that's the problem. So I agree.
I
There
love where
lies
you're
part
going
of the
with
problem.
I agree.
Operator error.
And I think that, potentially that is maybe that's, you have to look at a geographical area. And if you have access to a database that has that cleaned data, that has that valuable data and stuff like that, or something like that, say, hey, we just need the averages. What is this going, and stuff like that. I would think that would be huge.
Hey, farmers love discounts. The insurance company could say, we'll give you X amount of discount if you can give us certified clean data. Or, let this software take it from point A to point B, to where then they have to come to Experience Ag and say, we need you to come out and calibrate our data so that way you can, like the National Corn Growers Association, right? They have to have a third party come out and calibrate the yields, or calibrate the equipment, then weigh the yields, so that way it's third party verified.
So is that a direction crop insurance could be heading in the future? Is that something they're...
It's there today.
It's there.
That's you hit where I was going, Andrew, is the key point of, like, if something is faulty or the monitor's not calibrated or it loses power and they keep going. I don't know, that's probably not possible anymore, but you get where I'm going.
Yeah.
It will throw that pretty much out the window. And that's the challenge of the adoption rate to it, is that I'm with you. We're way behind from that standpoint, because it's been out there. I mean, I'd say, they call it precision data, not very original on the crop insurance side, but I'd say it's been out there for 10 plus years. But I think, as far as the adoption of it, it's minimal. I mean, single digit percentage rate.
I saw, and that brings up a follow-on piece to this too. And say we have, you got a claim coming in, you got to have an adjuster come out and just verify what this claim is, and it's the lack of technology that I see used during those processes kind of amazes me, because the accuracy of the technology that can be used is incredible. I've seen wind adjustments, right? And here we're going around afterwards and we're looking for a number of harvestable ears that were left on the ground by walking around randomly in a field, saying, well, where are we at? We have the technology to fly a field in a 30-minute time frame. We can give you the exact number of acres, where it's at, to the exact level that thing is like broke off and snapped over on. And you would think that the cost of that drone is minimal,
even if it's not a service that somebody provides, the cost of it's minimal. Compared to the random walking, guessing, and saying, well, there's near there, let's measure a circle of 100 feet and see how many there are. It seems like we're very outdated, which is ultimately costing
But
more money.
Do you credit that to the companies with outdated policies, or do you credit that to leadership and people that are in those current roles aren't willing to adapt to new policy? And Cody, I know you shouldn't answer this question because, but when I look back and I look at these 15 companies and I sit and think of some of the adjusters that I know, and I'm thinking, there ain't no way that guy's going to walk out in that field and look at anything, let alone adapt the new technology that we're going to fly it.
I just looked out my front door the other day and I'm like, who are these two people walking around on my property? Right? Because we cash in some ground out here, that we don't develop on yet and stuff. I'm like, who are they? What are they doing? So I walked out there to them and like, what's going on? Oh, we're just out here looking for non-harvestable ears, right? Which kind of brought up. And I'm like, this is what you guys do? Like, that was my first introduction to it. And I'm like, you're accurate doing this? I'm like, guys, I could have taken a drone up, 3 weeks ago and given you the height difference on a corn that was out here in this field.
Right.
And said, this corn is broke off by 3 feet below the ear level or above the ear level.
Yeah.
That's going to give you a better job of identifying where to walk. And then you say, hey, these zones, this is where you need to walk. And it affected this many acres. Oh, by the way, which ultimately is going to save the taxpayer dollars, which saves the guy writing a check, the 15%, the 45%, whatever it is of what's not subsidized. I don't understand, how that still exists the way it does. And maybe it doesn't everywhere. I don't know.
No, I would say that's pretty standard what you experienced, and it would go back to the loss adjustment process, which is developed by the Risk Management Agency, which is the governing body of crop insurance. They write the rules and they deliver it to these private companies. That those 15 companies that we mentioned earlier that then bring that product to us, and so. They're definitely outdated. They're moving along, but it's just there's a lot of moving parts.
Oh yeah,
the Farm Bill include all those things that have to be factored in.
So is this going to be edited by what's our new Department of Doge or whatever? Musk and
with the spending.
Yeah, they're
excess
spending, which I think that's awesome.
Yeah,
hey, we got to run budgets. Maybe they'll look at the outdated services that risk management provides and say we got to make some changes here, fellas.
Well, and I mean that doesn't ever hurt to reassess yourself as a business, as a governing body, and say, how can we do this better? We all need to do that as businesses.
You need to do that all the time. So, okay, with that being said, if Cody Gault gets to draft what crop insurance looks like in 5 years, what does the future of crop insurance look like?
That's a big question. So, what I want it to look like is, I didn't get into real deep plans of insurance, but county-based plans are gaining popularity. They have increased significantly over the last 5 years. As far as a core structure of the product, I think they're out there. They're doing what they were designed to do. Again, making folks whole, protecting that revenue in bushels, the flexibility. But what I would like to see is the trends continue to reflect what we can raise today. I think that's the gap that we're seeing, like expected county yields. For Decatur County, it's 203 bushels. A lot of people would argue that they haven't seen sub 200 for a while, rightfully so. And I'm just using that. Of course, that's where we're sitting. So it's those type of updates, that I would like to see happen. That we're trending yields right now. You're familiar with that term, but we're just not. We're not quite there. So like that hurts.
You take a Decatur County and you say 203, right, on corn. If you had to just pull a number out of a hat, what would you call Decatur County? If you just said we're looking at a average number for the county, what do you think? If it's not 203, is it 225?
220.
220. Okay.
You said pull it out hat.
Yeah.
I pulled.
So just we're a little less than 10%.
Put it back in and try again.
No. I mean, I guess my point is we're a little less than 10% off. So although we are trending higher, that spread's probably not necessarily closing, right? Because as we, as producers, continue to raise better yields, the risk management may be trending up, but the spread's probably staying there the whole way. So at some point in time, a big gap's going to have to be closed.
Correct, and that's, and again, not to be too generic with it, but that's what I want and think that the focus needs to be on, along with technology as well. I think there's, again, we talked about that already. There's huge opportunities there. AI is being mentioned today. And mainly right now, obviously I want it on the agent side, but it's actually being incorporated into the adjusting side first, at least for one of our core partners that we work with.
So we've got some very interesting technology that that was presented to us, where it's basically infield sensors that will report real-time hail damage and stuff like that. So it will report back to you saying, "Hey, we've had hail event in this field," and stuff like that. I think those things need to start coming along faster and being more used. What about the subsidized side? Do you think that needs to lessen and become more of a standalone? Like, guys, it's a business. This is a risk, volatility, and stuff like that. I mean,
I have mixed feelings on that because we farm, we benefit from that. It's my career as well. I think if we can figure out the gaps from the yield perspective and the trends, I think that's an opportunity to look at the subsidy levels and where they are right now. Today, I would say it's actuarial sound as far as being what's coming in and what's going out, the way it's rated. It works. I mean, It's designed, to be a dollar in, dollar out program over the life of the product. You may only see it once or twice in your life, but the way that it is subsidized and rated, that would have. So when you start talking about the subsidies, it's a very big animal, really over my head, to be honest with you, as far as the programming that goes into the behind the scenes of making sure that it is sound for the farmer, sound for the the taxpayers as well. So I didn't answer your question.
I think back to that, and we've got some I say payments from crop insurance, some what do you call
adjustments,
indemnities a few times, but 2012 was the big one.
That's right.
I mean, 2012 without those, a lot of farmers could have been out of business.
Okay, I'm gonna throw this wrench in here, and there's the devil's advocate, right?
As coming from the normal seat,
right? That's what it does. I think it's this chair. That's where I normally sit. So watch out. How many businesses directly, depend on that bushel that comes out of that field, right?
There's a lot. There's a lot.
How many businesses can ensure their bottom line revenue? Zero.
Right.
So why is that? I am a direct reporter to every price of every corn and soybean bushel that comes out of those fields.
But you can't insure yourself.
But I cannot insure myself as a bottom dollar on revenue. So how is that?
I'm gonna take this one first, Cody, because being
But I'm not complaining. I'm just asking, if a farm bill is going to develop,
because it always goes back to what Cody brought up earlier and I think it was through the New Deal when it was all established.
Which was what year? FDR was in what year?
I don't remember.
23?
No, 1923, right? Okay, let's give it plus or minus 10 years.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. So point taken. But no, the reason it came back is one of his goals was for the United States to have a safe and plentiful food supply. That was one of the things. He looked at famine in other parts of the world. He looked at all this stuff and said, we've got to have a safe, plentiful food supply. And that was one of his backstops on, I'm going to ensure that my farmers are going to stay on the farm, because at that period, so many people were leaving the rural life to go to the cities, to get away from the farm. I mean, we talked about it earlier today. it's not that far. Everybody has a direct relative, not more than 3-4 generations that came from the farm.
Okay, so I'm going to ask this question then. So I am I guess a feeding operation of hogs, right? I have the same. I can get revenue-based insurance for something like that as well, right?
Yes.
So that is all based. That's still offered for any direct food production is what it essentially is, right?
Yep. Yeah. The protein sector was a bit delayed, but they have a revenue protection based product for hogs, cattle.
Same thing for like a milk, dairy, like
milk,
all that stuff
sheep.
is. Yep. Gotcha.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Livestock risk protection is what it's called for swine and cattle, and dairy revenue protection for milk.
Yeah. Gotcha. So I understand that, right? I think
Or you
one
just
thing,
dig a pond at your house and you go fishing every day.
we could go back to Stone Age. I'm not just saying it's one of those things. I know you are.
That's a common. I mean, I hear that.
You
hear
do,
that
yeah.
often. Yeah.
Right.
Well,
and
ag
you-
and non-ag. Yeah.
And even for me, I hate subsidies. I mean, we talk about some of the government handouts, things like that. And, I'm also a firm believer of just let everybody stand on their own two legs.
It's capitalism.
It's capitalism, man. That's
Right.
that's what this world's made, or what this country's made on. And that's why we're all sitting at this table, because we're able to thrive from it.
Right. And I still think that even without, I still think people will stand up and you still will thrive. I do think one thing that it has, kind of enabled is it has enabled some poor management decisions through the years and stuff like that. But, that's neither here nor there. There's,
You're always going to
stuff
have
like
that. Any
Yeah,
business
but I
you
think,
work
and
in.
I don't know, maybe to what level, I do not know what degree they dive through this stuff. I'm hoping they're not basing it off of the New Deal, like I was reflecting to earlier. I'm sure that they've put a lot more thought into it and stuff like that.
Let's see here. Let's see if I can pull
oh,
your,
we're good.
now you got me.
I told you no fact checking here. So.
Yeah. So no, but that does interest me on those sides of things, and the lack of the technology that is
The
available.
New
to
Deal,
use.
1933 through 1936.
Plus or minus 10.
So,
I get
I mean,
it. There we go.
We're only 90 years out. I mean, what?
Nothing's changed.
Nothing's changed. I always say the only thing that stays the same is everything will change, except for the New Deal.
Interesting.
I'm going to have to put that in there
I was
now.
at a conference the other day, and they said something about that we are changing faster than we ever have been, and change will never be slower than it is now as well.
That's true.
And
That is a great point.
It's alarming. So I would agree that the technology. I mean that's the there's a lot of improvement there. It's there, but we just got to get. All things have to align, and that's from literally myself to the customer, and on the technology that's being shared as well. So
we're changing faster today than we ever have.
yes,
And we will never be
Change
changing
this slow again.
slower
It'll
than
never
we
be
are
slow.
right now.
Correct.
I like that.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. There's always a lot of flag and
Yeah.
concern and saying, how are we going to keep up?
Yeah.
Whatever
keep moving.
whatever that piece is.
Just
right?
keep moving.
So the food production piece, right? This is kind of off topic from the insurance side, but it rolls right in to
Yeah.
a similar thing. We are out producing anything we've ever thought we would ever use, right? That also creates more supply than demand.
Yep.
Which brings up different types of management that happens in other areas of the world and stuff like that. And maybe you can highlight if anybody understands a little bit of that.
Well, and we're also in an era where, our big corporate powerhouses have went to areas like South America and some of the most fertile soil in the world. And they've taught them how to farm. They've taken all the U.S. practices, which is just good business on their part. But they're putting a bigger hurt on, the customer that helped them grow the business that they have.
The problem we have isn't available food for the world. The problem we have is logistics of getting it to the
That's
parts
right.
and
Exactly
the
right.
cost to get it to the places where we need
Yeah,
it.
that's it.
Like we have
we can
piles
grow in
everywhere.
abundance. Yes.
And you're never going to starve.
But then you get to parts of the world that there are people just starving because we can't get it there. or they don't have the money.
Right.
to
Nobody
write
wants
the
to shell
check.
out the money to get it
And
there.
you can always follow the money on anything.
That's right. That's right. That's the sad truth.
It is a sad
That's
truth.
the sad truth. Mm-hmm. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't see Travis Corman laying a $100 bill and saying, "Put that in Tricon and ship it over there." I mean, as
Right.
bad as that is, that's just
Right.
you know. So I think it's a distribution network that has to be established to fix things more than
Right.
we have to produce more.
Well, and I think something else, that there was not that long ago, they were saying, 2050, we're going to have to double our production. But
The
what's-
declining population.
Exactly. So it's not, I don't know if that's exactly true. Had statistics of China. Their
Yep.
population is on the decline for how many years in a row. And I don't know what they said
One-
about the U.S., but
Yeah, we just went through this the other day. We had, and it's not what they had projected by any means. And when they did the one male, like all that type of stuff, which I don't know exact details on all that,
definitely.
but it's going to come back, and like their workforce isn't there. Like there's a whole bunch that's not there. I mean, I think the average family in America is like 1.6 kids or something like that.
sounds right. Yes.
I think.
Yep.
Which is way down from. Give it 20
Not,
years
not
ago.
with any fault of Cody's.
I'm doing
Cody's
my part,
doing
guys.
his part.
Guys, pick it up.
Yeah,
right?
Right, he's doing
Come
his
on, Cody.
part.
We take a lot of resources. I'm just saying.
says, "Hey, Dad, I need a brother."
Right. Go ahead. Half dozen better than five.
We consume a lot of resources. We are doing our part for the production.
But no,
issue.
you got a point, because as if we have a declining population, a growing food supply, do
Supply,
things like,
demand.
Yeah, do things like crop insurance. I mean, do they continue? Are they evolving fast enough to keep up? And will they continue? Or is the government just going to pull the plug on the subsidies and say, hey, let's go back to the caveman days, eat what you kill?
You won't see that ever. I don't think you'll. You may lessen subsidy. That'd be an escalation, de-escalation of participation, right?
Right.
And stuff like that. I don't think it's going to be a cut off the hand, we're done.
Right.
I would agree. I mean, this next farm bill's it's over $1 trillion. I mean, it's almost not quite double from the last one, so it's not being factored in yet. Anyway, so
Over $1 trillion.
over $1 trillion.
Over 40
Before
years.
the new committee gets to it, though. That's before the new committee gets
That's
to
what's being proposed today.
it. So, but that and understanding that as well, that also means there's opportunity for growers, to expand, grow, or capture potential revenue, or do better stewardship for ground that they've been trying to produce, out of, but now maybe you can actually do what's better for, the soil or the environment as well.
So, okay. I hop on an elevator. We got 15 floors to go up. And I notice you have a farm credit crop insurance shirt on. And I know nothing about farming. And I say, oh, I see you're in the crop insurance world. Isn't that heavily government subsidized? Why do we waste our money on that? What's the Cody Gault response to that?
So kind of going back to what I said, I think, if you look at our abundant and affordable might be a challenging comment right now, but abundant and affordable, we have the most bountiful, I keep saying that. But
Bountiful.
Bountiful, there you go. Thank you. Getting tongue-tied. Supply of food in the world, where
Probably healthiest.
and healthiest. Yeah. It's just, that's one thing I think that, not to get off topic, but just I don't think we understand how good we have it, or maybe we do.
Well, I mean, I
but,
could hit every floor if you want to stop
You wanna do
and
that?
have a lot of time.
No, I just so when you think of heavily subsidized, I think you have to factor in on where the subsidies going in general. So like if you look at the farm bill, crop insurance is only 20% of that $1 trillion.
Okay.
So there is a lot of subsidies, taxpayer dollars going elsewhere than just
Into
crop
like
insurance.
nutrition.
Yeah. So I circle back to making sure that we're still going to be we'll call it the number one supplier.
So just to be basically the FDA falls underneath the farm bill, right? Yeah. I mean that's one of the programs, and that's one of the agencies that's been developed through the same New Deal, like
Right.
to make sure we have a healthy food
Yeah.
supply as well, right?
That's
Right.
right. Yeah.
A lot of people may not know
nutrition-
that.
Yeah,
You know.
nutrition is the huge
Component
component of the
yeah.
farm bill. Again, I can't recall the piece of the pie off the top of my head, but it's
It's massive.
It's massive. Yeah, it's the by far the largest, and then there's several little other ones in there, but.
No, it's just interesting because it started out as the farm bill, but that is the case.
It is.
It's probably more. It's inaptly labeled. To be honest with you, I mean, it needs to be more of a food supply, health and nutrition bill. I mean, honestly, if they want people to start to understand, and lack of knowledge is a huge thing in ag, and I think everybody at this table will agree with that. I mean,
Sure.
There's a lack of knowing what goes on the ground, all the way up to what's available from the subsidies or what programs,
Right.
and how it's awareness. I mean,
Right.
They've kept it the farm bill name by design to get more multiple parties to come together, because ag is we're so few out there. What's the population of ag represent now? It's way under 2% of the population, 1%. I don't know anymore. But so you're asking a lot of people that may not be involved to approve a farm bill, but then of course you got the other side that's more interested in nutrition. So they keep that farm name on there for common ground. I know it may not make sense, but again, it is by design to get it to pass.
Right.
But I think that in keeping that there though, it does kind of give a black eye.
Yeah. Oh, I
to
agree.
the end user being the guy that needs it in 2012 or whatever year it is, right? I mean, this year was not a pleasant year for some growers.
Right.
They're-
And Travis, just kind of boomerang back, you had made the comment like you are an ag supplier, ag-based company, and you can't insure. But these crop insurance levels also help ensure you're going to stay in business. It helps ensure that the fertilizer supplier, the chemical supplier, the seed supplier, all these people are going to stay in business, because if we didn't have these and we had a disastrous year,
So it inadvertently helps
inadvertently,
us. Yes.
by
you're out
going
of
to the
business.
lowest level,
That's right.
right? That cash flow will move back through the economy back up is what it essentially is.
That's
right.
correct.
Yeah.
That's exactly
well
right.
said.
And that's good.
Yes.
That's well explained.
That is well said.
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe I should.
Maybe you should tee off of that
That's
more.
for a reason.
We should have started that with on floor one of the elevator.
I would agree with that. No, that was,
We
that
could
was
have gone off
good.
on floor 3.
That's right. I love that.
Talking about good
love
laugh. Watched the
dragon
movie
on.
Elf the other night. When he gets on. Sitting-
I got a brother that does that, and he'll jump in all the way down, jump back out, and hit another one. Just let that guy
Dusty
sit.
do that?
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Remind me never to go on an elevator with him.
Oh my! So Cody, one question I always like to ask is, if you had the opportunity this afternoon to have a conversation with 20-year-old Cody Gault, what advice would you give him?
Personally, professionally, or just in general?
Both.
Okay. I would tell him to buy farmland.
Okay.
And start early, and don't be afraid to take that risk. And I think you can look at that, whether it's personal or professional. But it's don't. I think I'm very risk adverse. Obviously, what I do every
Right here in
day.
the crop insurance world.
So I think that's the big part. And from a career perspective at Farm Credit, I mean, it may sound cheesy. I wouldn't change a whole lot. I mean, it's been very fulfilling. There's a lot of opportunity. It's a great company. Meet a lot of great people. So I think I live a pretty good life. I'm pretty blessed. So
Nice.
I know, maybe.
Well, that's good to hear.
Pretty bland answer.
That's
but,
all right. It's good to
yeah,
hear.
I think-
I like the by ground. I mean,
I think
that's
would be.
Says the real estate guy,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Gotta keep buying.
Is that what I have to do right now?
I was talking to a young guy on the phone earlier today, and he was talking about there's a 25 acres that adjoins a farmyard he owns, and he's going back and forth and on a couple $100 apart on price, and I'm like, man, that'll be a rounding error in 20 years. Just go buy it, be done with it.
That's the truth.
And he's like, well, I guess put it that way, you're right. And I'm like, no, I'm telling you, it's a rounding error. So stop talking about it, go get it bought. And that lays true for all of us.
Now that being said, then this is going to be real estate, but I'd like you to second this a little bit too, though. So there's some investment opportunities, right? Growers will take some investment opportunities to purchase ground and stuff like that. The return on investing into that ground is you either have to be able to successfully farm and get it back out that way, or you have to be willing to separate from that ground,
Correct.
or use it to use
It's
that
a transfer
collateral.
of wealth.
Yes,
It's a transfer of wealth.
Right.
Also, investment. It's a long game. I mean, I had a real savvy real estate investor tell me one time, 1 out of every 100 properties that you buy, you'll hit a home run on. You just don't know if you'll ever get one of those bought. And if you don't get started, you'll never have it. And so, yes, there is an opportunity for you to do something with it. The problem you see in the farming world is most farmers who are land buyers, big or small, fall in love with what they buy.
it's an emotional connection.
It's an emotional connection.
emotional purchase,
And it's an emotional
connection.
purchase. But one of the things I've always prided myself on is I had some opportunities when I was younger to buy some property that really wasn't in an area I was farming in, or really didn't fit well, but it was cheap and I could afford it. And so I just bought it. And then down the road, I traded it or sold it to somebody else and then took that money and used what's called a 1031 transaction through the Internal Revenue Code and bought another piece. And, there's a farmer, I'm going to name drop here just because he'll probably blush if he hears this. Probably wouldn't listen to a podcast, but a guy named Bill Kuhn, who was kind of a cool guy, mentor to me, said, Fansler, the best time to buy ground's when it's for sale. And if you got the money to buy it when it's for sale, figure out how to get it done. And you sit and you think about it and you're like, well, that's pretty raw advice, but it's true. If it's for sale and you can afford it, stop second guessing everything else. Just buy it and figure the rest out down the road.
Very rarely do you ever see the same piece of ground come up for sale twice.
No.
Right?
I would agree. Yeah. I think some of that sentiment, about not wanting to let go,
Yeah.
in my mind goes to like the 80s when it was so challenging and people had to really, dig in or lost ground or went under. I think that if they survived, in my mind, that's where that mentality comes from.
You're
It's
right.
I had to do everything I could to make the payments or to survive. And I think you just, again, you're invested in it a little more than maybe a different generation or whatnot. But
So one of the farms I bought when I was younger, I bought it and I traded it along with some money to a guy for another farm. And then I kept farming it. And then when that gentleman passed away, his kids came to me and said, we need to sell this farm. This is one, we need to sell it right now. I don't really want it, but I bought it back. And then I had the opportunity, a neighbor wanted to buy it really bad, and I had an opportunity to buy a piece that had joined another farm I had, so I sold it again. This time I walked away from the farming side, so I knew it wasn't going to happen, and was able to buy this other ground that had joined me. Had I not bought it the first time,
Nothing would have transpired
have
after
happened
that.
here. And it's when you say, well, a farm only goes for sale once. Well, I own that
You had
one
the golden
twice.
egg.
Yeah, so I owned it twice.
You got the golden
which is a
egg.
rare occurrence.
that's
but
a rare occurrence.
but it's opportunities like crop insurance that help give you that backstop to, if it is a 20-year-old Andrew Fansler, which I didn't know crop insurance existed at that point, but if I today knew that, I would try to buy ground if I could. And don't just buy the piece that's for sale. You may be in a high rent district, or I say high rent, high purchase dollar, high rent, whatever, but you may be able to go 4 counties away and buy ground. I would just go buy it and rent it out, find a good local farmer and rent it out, but get that equity moving, because it may not be as high as where you're at now, or you may think it may go down, but just start getting equity built up. With the capital appreciation, long-term dividends being cash rent, and you've heard me say this 100 times, too many times farmers look at the land ownership as part of the farm. And, a farm, if you're going to own 1 acre or 10,000 acres, that is a real estate investment company. And if you're going to grow corn and soybeans, that's a farm operation. They're two distinctly different businesses. Mm-hmm. And too often people want to just marry them into the one. So, Yep.
Well, that's good.
Yep.
That's good.
Well,
Buy ground, Benji.
That's what I've learned right now. I got to go buy some stuff. So,
well, Cody, I appreciate you coming on board today.
Thank you. Thanks for having
I've
me.
had a lot of fun. Learned a little bit of stuff here.
Right.
I was going to say, originating from the East Coast, did not know really anything about crop insurance. So that was beneficial.
Yeah.
I learned a lot from there. So
Great time.
we appreciate you coming. And thanks again to Experience Ag and Land Pros for sponsoring this. And thanks for watching. Hopefully see you guys next episode.
Thanks.